For thousands of years, man has been asking one very specific question, and that's, how do I get more traction? Now hear me out when I say thousands of years. Don't you think it's possible that when men were using their oxen or their water buffaloes or whatever it was to pull things, plows, each other around, don't you think those animals slipped around and they couldn't get traction on things with their hooves? Well, this also applies to not only oxen, but also RC cars. Today we're going to compare 3 tires, and these are the tires that I have in my arsenal. And from left to right, they're the paddle tires that are made by Pro-Line. They're the Slingshot SCs. Then we have the General Grabbers that came with my crawler. And we also have, last but not least, the Pro-Line Hyrax G8s. We're going to see which one of these is the best tire and create a ranking list. We'll start by just looking at the treads side by side and the diameter or height of the tire. From left to right, you can see left being the shortest, right being the tallest. The Hyrax is the tallest, may give it an advantage. They all have about the same width. The paddles on the left look really aggressive. Then we've got those really nice looking classicals on the middle and some really aggressives on the right. Here we go, let's get some climbing going. On the left, we have the original General Grabbers, and on the right, we're running the paddle tires by Pro-Line. Those are the Slingshots. We already had a better line going on the General Grabbers, but the paddle tires picked up and grabbed nicely and are catching up. One of the things I really like about the paddle tires is how you can see them grabbing onto that sand and kind of tossing it over the other side. It's pretty cool. Looks like the paddle tires have a bit of a lead in this portion. We're not racing up, we're just trying to do it with grip and see who gets up the easiest. Paddle tires are far enough ahead that the General Grabbers are going to have to try to catch up a little bit though, and they're not able to. The General Grabbers just don't have that traction in this terrain. In fact, I think it's about a 10-second lead that the other tires put on these. So let's compare again the ones that won, which are the paddle tires on the right, with the Hyrax G8s on the left. Hyrax also got a really good line to get started. So they cleared this spot really nicely where the paddle tires are right now, but it'll get back up there. I actually misplaced my turn. I went a little bit too far before I started turning with the Hyrax. So that gave the paddle tires a bit of an advantage, or the ability to catch up. So here they're caught up. But if you watch those Hyrax G8s, they just went straight up and they're long gone. Here's where I'm concerned with the paddle tires. You can just see it bumping around. The whole truck is jumping up and down. And they also seem to do a little bit of damage to the terrain. This is like a rocky / dirt area. So let's do this instead. Let's take it to a whole new spot where it's just basically concrete. We're going to compare on the right the General Grabbers with, on the left, the Slingshots paddle tires. Let's see which one gets up quickest. Any predictions? The General Grabbers are doing pretty well. They've got that left front tire is up off the ground, so it needs more surface area or contact. So it took a little left turn, and it got that other tire planted, and away it goes. Problem with these paddle tires is they're not forgiving, they're hard, and there's not a lot of contact area or surface area touching the ground. Those little paddles, they just go straight across, and there's only 12 on every tire. So it may have 2 down at any given time per tire, but it just doesn't have the contact area as the general grabbers do. One more try. Ouch. So if the Hyrax can't get up this incline, then the general grabbers are going to have a huge advantage and probably be at the top of my list. The idea here is to try to get the exact same line, so we're going to come at the same angle and try to do it in the exact same spot. And the general grabbers just lost traction right there, so they had to reroute a little bit. But look at those Hyrax, they're up and gone. Let's let the general grabbers finish off. Like I said, going nice and slow and just using our traction to get up is the idea. That's what crawling is all about. So with that being said, that pretty much eliminates the paddle tires from the rest of this test. Here's a new spot that we hit the other day, and automatically the Hyrax G8s have an advantage because they were able to stay up higher on the little hill there, whereas the general grabbers slid down a little bit, so that gave the G8s a huge advantage right here. But look at the general grabbers, they're catching up and they're plowing their way up, so they caught up to the G8s.
Now we're going to take it downtown, full throttle off the curb. Three, two, one, go.
Yep. You can't always get perfection. Here's a whole other new spot that we found. And immediately you're going to see that they're starting in the exact same spot. If you look at the little rocks on the top right corner of the truck, there they are in the same spot. This is a very slippery spot and would be hard to get up on other tires, I would assume. But they're both doing very well. I would say that the G8s have an advantage now because they found a little bit higher path. They just have that little bit more traction, it appears. Those general grabbers are doing a pretty good job though. They cleared that little spot that looked like it was almost impossible to get over. So kudos to them for that. And there go the Pro-Line Hyrax G8s. We're going to go ahead and fast forward about 4 times. So you can see that would have been about a 20-second difference in the time that it took. A good test can't be done in one place, so we're going to leave San Diego and go up north near Death Valley National Park, just to the west of it, where temperatures are hot and the terrain is unforgiving. We're up on 9 Mile Canyon, which is just west of Pearsonville in the Mojave Desert. You see in the background, we're up on about a 900-foot peak, maybe 1,000 feet. We're going to try to keep the same lines throughout, but this took 2 runs, and I had never been in this area before. So there might be a little bit of variances in our runs, but I'll edit. Here's a pretty cool, tricky little spot. On the left, we have the general grabbers. On the right, we have the G8s. And on the left, we just picked a much better line, and it got right over through those. The G8s, we had to resituate ourselves, but it got over fine as well. You can hear a lot of clanking in this video because this little crawler is getting banged around all over the rocks. So now we're going to start climbing. This terrain is interesting. There's a lot of volcanic rock, there's a lot of granite, and a lot of decomposed granite. Decomposed granite is like little tiny rocks that almost are like dirt, so it keeps it really loose. Here's one of our variances. On the G8s on the right, I got a little ambitious and took it over this nice decomposing granite rock. On the left, we have the general grabbers, and we took a separate little trail, but they'll catch up to each other in just a minute. I'm wearing a head cam through all this, so the angle is a little bit high. Next time I'll try to get some ground shots for you. There's my shadow. You can see the GoPro on my head. And now we're pretty much caught up with each other with a little editing, thank you. We both got caught on that rock that the general grabbers just got caught on. Here's a tricky spot right here. A lot of you professional crawlers that might be watching this would probably say that wasn't the best line to start with. I probably should have started over on the left side, where that rock is down on the bottom. So that's what we'll do. We'll try to scoot over. Funny thing is, in this, my tactics were almost exactly the same. You can see in every spot that the crawler was pretty much in the same place. And looks like they both cleared about the same time. The Hyrax did it with a little bit more traction, and the general grabbers did it with a little more throttle. But I think the biggest problem with it was centering or high centering on the rocks. Now we froze the frame on the right so that the general grabbers could catch up, and we're even giving them a little head start. This is pretty steep right here, and it's all that decomposed granite that they're riding on, and dirt. The general grabbers seem to be sliding around a little bit more. In fact, here come the other tires, the Hyrax G8s, going through and making it right up. We had time to reset the camera and do a 5-second pause, and now the Hyrax G8s are back underway. Even gave the general grabbers another little lead, but there go the Hyrax G8s. Coming up is a whole new spot. Now this is a big piece of granite. It's kind of like the pavement that we tried to go up earlier, or that we did go up with earlier. But this is a little more slippery, even though it's got a lot of what looks like a lot of traction. It's just got a kind of a slippery nature to it. But with a little bit of patience, the Pro-Line Hyrax G8s just get right up it. That's when you try to throttle it on the left, that's what happens. You lose control. You'll see me do it a couple of times because the general grabbers just don't have that traction that it needs. But we finally got to throttle up it. Here's the problem with throttling up though. Watch this replay. See that bouncing around and lack of control? That's what you don't want in crawling. You want as much traction as you can get so you can just crawl up nice and slowly. But they both made it. Next part, on our way back down, we found this nice little pile of rocks over here. And it's just brutal. You can just hear the body banging around and the bottom of this banging around on these rocks. They're jagged, of course they're hard, but they're just completely unforgiving. This is what it's like out in the Mojave Desert. And this is probably a good vegetation area for the Mojave Desert. All these dead little bushes that you see all over, they're still alive. So we still have the Hyrax G8s on the right and the General Grabbers on the left. And it's a lot of work getting down these things. I think more than traction here, it's probably equally important, if not more important, to get that lower center of gravity with a higher body though. And it would probably be a little bit more successful through here. But I did manage to flip both of them over. All in all, I think that they both did pretty well through here. I like this recovery on the left. Looked like it was going to roll over, but it's amazing how these things can recover. All right, one last one. This is the wall. Now, the General Grabbers have been attempting to get up this for probably about 15 or 20 seconds on the left, and on the right we have the Pro-Line Hyrax G8s. Did make it all with traction. The G8s made it, and so did the other tires, but you see all those little fingers on there? That's what gives it its traction. So I would say there's one clear winner in this. The Hyrax G8s by Pro-Line. So this is currently our king of the hill. The Hyrax G8s by Pro-Line. Put this one at the top of the list. Please like and subscribe to this channel, and if you can think of any other tires you want us to compare, we'll put it on our list as well.